welcome once again. This is Dr. O Digital at the Dr. O Digital podcast. The purpose of the show is to transform your business and life with education and inspiration. I introduce busy business leaders to trends in business, technology, and marketing to highlight people you should know. What does it take to become a true entrepreneur philosopher in today's fast-paced business world? My guest today embodies the perfect blend of intellectual curiosity, entrepreneurial spirit, and practical business acumen. From treating his own genetic disorder at age 7 to publishing his first book of poetry at 14, Sid Mohasseb's journey is a testament to the power of self-sufficiency, humility, and continuous learning. Sid is not just another successful businessman. He's a serial entrepreneur, investor, innovator, university professor, and author. As the youngest partner of a national management consulting firm serving Fortune 500 clients, Sid has founded and led multiple companies from inception to acquisition. His expertise spans strategy, finance, venture capital, and data analytics, which he shares as a professor at prestigious institutions like USC and UCI. Sid's thought leadership has been featured on TEDx, Times, Fox, and Forbes, and his book, The Caterpillar's Edge, is recommended reading in MBA programs worldwide. Join me as we delve into the mind of the entrepreneur philosopher and uncover the secrets to balancing intellect, humility, and business success. During this episode, we'll do a deep dive into the changes and hot topics of innovation, entrepreneurship, and philosophy, and the biggest challenges in growth. I will leverage the expertise of my guest and how to navigate the unique dynamics of the field. By the end of this episode, you'll be better equipped to know what to do, and I encourage you to contact my guest, Sid Mohasseb, innovator, entrepreneur, and philosopher. With that, I want to welcome Sid to the program. How you doing today, Sid?
Pleasure to be with you and your audience, dear doctor.
Yes, absolutely. So we want to give people education and inspiration. And with your background, I don't even know where to begin, but please tell us a little bit about your background and what's the start for this incredible career that you've had?
So clearly from my name and probably my accent, I'm an immigrant. I came from Iran when I was 16 years old and went to school here in California. Went to USC where I'm teaching, and essentially, followed a career that I call was driven by a desire to create and innovate and build. One of the definitions of entrepreneurship that I use is that entrepreneurs, and goes back to the 1700s. Entrepreneurs are those who have something and want to change it with something of higher value, knowing that there is risk. You have something, you aim to change it with something of higher value, and that something could be your product, it could be your ideas, it could be your time, it could be something. And you aim to change it with something of higher value, and you decide what that higher value is. Is it more money? Is it being a professor somewhere? Is it being a good mother? Is it what you change it with is your choice? Knowing that there is risk. So I would say every entrepreneur, every immigrant is kind of an entrepreneur to begin with, because they pack up their bags and they hope that they would exchange what they have with something better, knowing that there is risk. So when did I become an entrepreneur? I guess I was one, but I don't believe that it is a differentiation between some people who are an entrepreneur and some people who are not. It's genetic in us. We have a gene in us that was discovered actually by the Texas A&M a long time ago. The gene was developed in us about 500,000 years ago, which is a gene that drives humans not to survive, but to thrive.
Yeah.
So thriving, by definition, means you're trying to get something in exchange of something else. So the question then becomes, how do some folks express it? How do some folks discover this talent? And whether they make a choice not to discover it or ignore it, or deal with it in a different way. So uh, I guess, just to circle back to what you asked, that journey has kind of taken me in a number of different directions. I've built companies, as you mentioned, 3 or 4 companies, and sold them. I have done turnarounds, which is buying companies and turning them around. I've been fortunate enough to work with a number of CEOs and executive teams across the Fortune 500. I've also been fortunate enough to work with tens of, probably hundreds of entrepreneurs, as I've either invested in them or board served on their board over the years.
Right.
Um, and obviously, you mentioned the student part also is an
Yeah.
important note.
It's so interesting. It's an interesting insight to say that an immigrant is an entrepreneur. So I've never quite heard that, but I can appreciate it because it's that ability that says, I want to do something better with my life and I'm seeking for it. Now, this has been a lot of things that you've done. So I'm curious, could you explain a little bit of some of the changes that you might have seen over the years?
Well, um, the changes that environmentally, I think, you can look at the history books, but I'll give you one that I was a part of.
Okay.
And when I was in college, I did a internship at a company called Flying Tigers, which was a competitor of FedEx at the time. And they were exploring to look at what they call a um, facsimile service. Now, what is a facsimile? It's a fax. A lot of young folks don't know what that is.
Right.
But in those days, we didn't have email. In those days, the best way to get a document from point A to point B was FedEx and these guys, Flying Tigers. You put them on a plane, you deliver them, and it was not 24 hours. It was 48 hours or 72-hour time frames. Um, so Flying Tigers was trying to figure out if there was a way to use facsimile, which was fax, a means of electronically copying a document and transferring it over the phone lines. Um and I After I did it was me and a few other people. We did this internship. All of a sudden, one day, they said, "Hey, we're closing shop." That was Flying Tigers. So now we had all these research, all the stuff that we'd done, and this idea of a facsimile service. Um, and My partner came to me and said, "Hey, you want to do this on our own? We could do this. We have the research. We know it works. Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And I said, sure. But the problem was that Flying Tigers expected a $200 million investment in this. Obviously, as college students, we didn't have that. We scraped a little bit here, a little bit there, and borrowed some. And I think the total came out to be $10,000. And started the business. And the idea was that we would actually get lease these facsimile machines. And the problem is that you have to have two of them, right?
Right.
So you have to have the sending and the receiving, and
Right.
these were very expensive, and they didn't have both sides. So we started a structure that will go to a client's office, will fax this documents, be it legal or whatever, to another location where we would put in a fax machine,
Okay.
let's say in a messenger service area. So what that means, we didn't have offices, we just had a machine sitting in a messenger service company
Yeah.
in Chicago, in London, in San Francisco, in Japan, in France. Very, very quickly, it picked up, it worked. But, you know, it was a stupid idea because then the price of these fax machines dropped.
Yes. Yep.
And No, I got lucky. While we were growing, I exited, and then my partners exited, and then the FedExes of the business got into this business, and then then the price of fax machines went really down to a point that you could get a phone number and fax now with just your scanner. You don't need any of it, and it's useless. Um, so that's a technology change that I sensed myself right in front. I mean, you could see the communication cycles, the development cycles, the creativity cycles. Imagine the development of a car used to be 5 to 10 years when they do a new platform of a car. Now, on the average, it's a year and a half. I mean, that's a significant difference.
Sure.
you know you could see how music is built. You could see how everything around us is changing, and we could talk about the AI revolution and what's going on, and people's fears and opportunities ahead. But there's tremendous amount of changes. Uh, One, I did a TED talk about this topic of change last year, I think it was, and entrepreneurship. You see, dear doctor, if you don't have change, you don't have options.
Yeah.
If everything was the same, if there was no change, you would eat the same thing every day. Your kids would remain the same age.
Hmm.
I don't care. You may be a Nobel Prize winner, but then you would stay there. There is no progress.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a life where there is no progress? There's no movement. You eat McDonald's every day for the rest of your life at exactly 11:55, and everything is without change. There's no options, and so change is actually our best friend.
Yeah.
Change is not our enemy. Change is what provides us with opportunities, with choices, with progress. Now, sometimes we feel that we are a victim of change.
Hmm.
Um, in some companies, you see that they have a lot of companies, they have this change management thing. It's like it's
Yes.
a bad thing coming upon us. It's like pain management. We have to
Yeah.
manage the pain. And I believe that that's the wrong view.
Okay.
Um, Change is either to be embraced or to be actually initiated.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you something. I've been talking about change and how great it is and all that, and it's an option. And I found one flaw in it.
Okay.
Um, People can get there's a devil in change. The devil is in this idea of shiny objects.
Hmm.
That's There's change, there's renewal, there's something options, but there's always another option.
Yeah.
So what happens is entrepreneurs and people in life get fascinated with the new object,
Hmm.
the new shiny object, the new choice. So fruition of something is compromised.
Hmm.
You don't get the results. You're just changing for the sake of change. I was on a board of a company, and the CEO, who was a very smart guy, was fascinated by using technology. Oh, this is an AI thing. This is a this thing. But before any of these tools were productive,
Hmm.
there was something that was better.
Yeah.
Of course, the technology moves pretty fast. You have a lot of things that are better, and he wanted to have the better. So you would never get the benefit.
Hmm.
You would never get the benefit, and it becomes frustrating because you're never done. Now, you're never done in business as you're not in life.
Yeah.
But the key is there is a beginning after every end, and that's the beauty of it.
Hmm.
But if there is no end, there wouldn't be a new beginning. It would just be a continuous doing without any wins. Like you mentioned that a lot of people say that I get philosophical about business and about life and about entrepreneurship. Uh, you know, in order for us In order for us to win, we have to first feel like a winner.
Mm,
And if we feel like a winner, we win a game.
mm,
So I'll say only winners are winners. No, that sounds silly. But if you are a leader in an organization, your objective should be make your people winners,
mm,
because then they're going to taste this win and they're going to want it more. You don't have to beat them up. You don't have to do anything. They let them taste the win. Let them taste progress. Let them taste their ability, their creativity,
mm.
and they will do it on their own, because guess what? Just as you like a win, they like a win.
Yeah. You talked about some changes and some hot topics, including AI. And I'm curious, what sort of things would you recommend business owners, entrepreneurs, what kinds of things should they be thinking about? Because you got a vast experience and a lot of background. What sort of things should they be thinking about in business currently?
Um, so we could divide this up into multiple sections, because one is where we are with the economy today. There's lots of hoopla, ups and downs, and the elections are here, and this is here, and this guy's plan is worse than that guy's plan, and this is taxations, and that. So those things are turbulence of times.
Hmm,
Now you have to be both defensive and offensive.
right.
If you overreact, you would lose in either direction. Now, so there's a dealing with the situation now issue, if you would,
Okay.
which is, what do I do? Do I invest more in capital equipment? Do I invest more in building things, or don't I? First of all, the greatest companies have been built in recessions. Now, we're not in a recession technically, but a lot of people think we are, and that's as good as the illusion. The perception of a recession is as important as a mechanical recession itself. We're at
Yeah.
3% positive in GDP growth, but we have to have two consecutive negative growth for it to be technically a recession. So we don't have that, but a lot of people don't feel good about what things are.
Yeah.
So my point is, there is a lot of opportunity in chaos. Chaos is pregnant with opportunity,
Hmm.
but there's also fear that we face. So if you're a businessman or a businesswoman and you've done certain things and you've saved certain money and you see this thing coming and say, "Oh, what is the economy? What is this going on?" You too are afraid of the same psychological effect that impacts the masses of, so what do I do? Am I losing everything? What's going to happen to my home? Should I invest? Should I lose? And that's a normal behavior. The
Sure is.
question is, I see some founders and say, I am fearless. I'm not afraid. Well, if you're not afraid, you're not human, or you're fooling yourself.
Right.
And the greatest thing that I think impacts an entrepreneur
Okay.
negatively is the illusion of strength, is the lack of appreciating reality.
Hmm.
So, and the media puts this into our head, the Zuckerbergs of the world. Oh, we push through the pain, and with this, yeah, we want to push through the pain, but we want to push through the pain in a reasonable manner.
Sure.
If both my legs have been cut off, it's foolish for me to try to drive a NASCAR. Well, let's figure out. Let's hire a driver. It's okay. Uh, so this idea that there's only one way to prosperity, and it's the way I think or the way you think. Um, that's something that the media has put in us. So, what's my advice?
Yeah.
First one is appreciate reality.
Hmm. Okay.
That doesn't mean doesn't you don't have goals. That just means Achievements are made in increments. A butterfly comes from a caterpillar, but the caterpillar goes through, in some cases, 14 stages of life. It may take a year. There is one caterpillar in Brazil, I think in Brazil or in the Amazons. It takes 14 years to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly. So it's complicated. It's a mutation. It's a change. So, but again, we have the idea that hey, we have to like flip a switch, and tomorrow morning we're all Elon Musk. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're all different. We're all different. The title of one of my books is "You Are Not Them," which is essentially working with this. It's called the. I think it's the title is "The Authentic Entrepreneur's Way." It's that we each are different. We come from different places. We have lived different lives. We have different ideas for different companies. We have different people working with us. We have different spouses. We have different IQs. We went to a different school. Our parents had this much money or that much money. We are from different races. We're different. We have 8 billion humans on the face of the planet, and we're all different. We're all different. So if we're all different, the same stuff doesn't apply to everybody.
Yeah.
The same stuff, the same path, the same thing. So there's a lot of how tos, lots of how to books, how to do this, how to do that. It's good to learn how to do certain things, but life and entrepreneurship does not follow a straight line.
Would you be able to say, are there some actionable tips? I mean, people always like, what are some takeaways? And could you provide some actionable tips? Like, what could a
Of
person do?
course, my actionable takes are not how to do A, do B, do C, because I think those are foolish. First of all, I think you have to be open to be provoked. And let me explain myself. You said about inspiration. Okay?
Yes.
Inspiration is important. Having the motivation is important, but nobody can inject things into your head to motivate you. I could motivate you for a day, for half a day, but guess what? Yes, I won the Olympic medal and I went through hell to get it. But you're not an Olympic medal winner. You didn't go through that hell. You're not me. You're different. So it lasts a while and then boom, it dies.
Right.
So when I say about provoking, is for you to be able to be open to be provoked, is you are self-motivating. You have an engine that runs and fuels and right, and you find the path, because it's not a single path. It's not like I have an epiphany tomorrow, I'm going to be Richard Branson. I have an epiphany, I'm going to be Steve Jobs. No, that doesn't work that way. So one is be open to be provoked. How are you open? By actively listening. Most of us listen to react. We don't listen to learn. We listen to react to things. So if we're actively, if as an entrepreneur, and again, these may sound like it's very different than somebody says, "Hey, go to Twitter, use this code, type this thing, and boom, you're gonna have 17,000 followers." Uh, that doesn't work for every product and every situation either. But how to's are good. I don't have a problem with it. You could go to school, you could become a structural engineer or an architect. But every land, every city, every property is different.
Mm-hmm.
So the angle of the house, where the water comes in, every time you build a house as an architect or a structural engineer, it's different. The plumbing, where everything has to be, the material that you have to use in this region or that region or this season or that season, they're different. So The how to's may teach you how to build the house, but building the house on that property on that day is very unique to you and how you do it and how you approach it. So there comes the authentic leader in you. There comes how you deal with risk as a pilot. There comes how you build an ecosystem to exchange with others and build things and lift up. There comes the your ability to deal with nervousness and fear, and actuating your mindfulness. There comes a lot of different. They're all here.
Sure.
That has to be put in effect for you to be successful. Let's take a let's take a chef. Let me give you, dear doctor, the best kitchen in the world. I'll give you the best oven. I'll give you the best pots and pans and spatulas. I'll give you all the condiments and all the salts and peppers and things spices that you may need. I'll give you the meat, best part of the cow. I'll give you the chicken. I'll give you whatever you want. I'll give you all the material. That does not make you a
Yeah.
chef. You're not a chef
Yep.
because you have the best oven.
You
So
know,
my point is, you are only a chef when you put and apply how and you see how you love your mom's food.
mm,
You see, because that love, that caring, that attention, that over time consistency of adding this spice and that spice, that that food, that specialty is hers. When you build a business, you have to apply the same level of care, same level of orientation of details. Yes, people can give you the oven, and sometimes you may not have the best oven. I'm sure there are lots of people in lots of poor neighborhoods in the lots of cities and countries with 17 children or 10 children home with a very horrible oven, but the mom makes a food that's to kill or to die for,
right.
right? So it's not the oven. Now, if you have the best oven, good for you. If you go to Stanford and get the best education, good for you. If you have lots of money, good for you. But that doesn't make you.
Sure. You know, with this vast experience and with these tips that you're giving, I think it's really clear a person really needs to reach out to you and see and tap into that. Now, I'm curious, after all the things you've been able to share, the changes, the hot topics, and all this wisdom, because philosopher, let's face it, how does a person reach out to you and how do they get a hold of you if they'd like to work with you?
I am at Sid at Mohasseb.com, which you see my name on the screen. Mohasseb.com, my last name.com is my site. You could learn all about me and see the articles through the blogs. There's lots of articles, as you mentioned. I often write for Forbes. I write for Time Magazine. I write for Newsweek, for USA Today, for Independent, Foreign Policy, Harvard Business Review, lots of different places. And some of them may be relevant because, when you get old, you think you have something to say. So it may be that some of your folks may say, "Oh, this guy is randomly, writing stuff." So there's a lot of those things to access. Obviously, my books, you can on Amazon, you can type my name and you'll find them. You Are Not Them was the second one I was talking to you, and that's focused on building your mindset
Mm,
and building your own entrepreneurial philosophy. It was a bestseller both in philosophy and in business. So
interesting.
it tells you that it's a little bit philosophical.
Yeah.
There's poems in it, and so it's a different. It's not a business book. It's not the thing that you pick up off the shelf from an entrepreneur thing that says, "Hey, do this and build this and how to." It's mostly about you.
Excellent.
And then the second one, and the first book was The Caterpillar's Edge that you mentioned as well, which I mentioned. It's about the analogy of the caterpillar and how it becomes to the to a butterfly is used throughout the book to connect what our addictions are in business and why so many businesses are failing and so forth. And the last chapter, and this book was in 2017, so 7 years ago. The last chapter says the 2 minute warning. And it's about how AI is coming and what the impacts would be. And some people say, well, how did you know? I said, well, sometimes you get lucky. Uh, but it's about the changes, the use of data, analytics, our perceptions, and so forth. Our need to be aligned with probabilities and forget about certainty of things and things of that sort. So they can email me sid@mohasseb.com, my first name at my last name.com, and visit any of those places that I just mentioned.
Thank you so much. With a lot of wisdom, it's poetry, it's business, it's philosophy, all of those things. So, Sid, thank you for taking out some time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much. Your audience are going to say, who is this confused guy that the doctor brought? He needs to see a psychologist because he doesn't know who he is.
No, it's the richness of life and it's the wisdom that you have to share. It's very valuable. Thank you so much, Sid.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's great to be with you.
You bet. Take care. If you want to have good guests like Sid, hopefully you keep supporting the program. And of course, I want to thank the supporters of the program. That is those publishers of both Burning America and On Track, Ian Hunter. I appreciate all the support for those people who are sponsoring and supporting the program. And if you want to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. I help business leaders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs break through their obscurity through written presentations, building credibility and authority. That's the Idea to Author Coach, helping business leaders break through obscurity. Join me on the free community on Facebook. Until next time, this is the Doctor of Digital signing off. Deus Vult.